This is the regular meeting of the Mobile City Council, Tuesday, December 13th. Please stand for our invocation led by Pastor Josh Sparkman, Christ Presbyterian Church, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
It's good to be with you for 2 weeks in a row. Before we begin, I want to read the scriptures. This is Daniel chapter 7. I saw in the night visions, and behold, the clouds of heaven, there came one like a son of man. And he came to the Ancient of Days and was presented before him. And to him was given dominion and glory and a kingdom, so that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom one that shall not be destroyed. Let's pray. O Lord God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, we ask that this morning we would do all things to honor and glorify you. We ask that your character, your attributes would be reflected in policy, in what we think is good and righteous for our society and for our culture and for Mobile as a whole. And so we ask that you would give us the grace to repent of any sin that we need. We ask that you would give us the ability to argue logically, to argue well, to express our values, to express ethical standards. And Lord, we ask that you would indeed, as we approach the Christmas season, remind us of what this is really all about, of what life is ultimately about. That we are to honor you, that we are reflections of you, that we are to honor one another with dignity and respect because we are each reflections of you. And so, Lord, we ask that you would be with the Mobile City Council. We ask that you would be with everyone here, that we might seek your face, that we might repent of our sin, that we might open up our hearts to our neighbors, that we might enjoy this Christmas season not merely in presence, not merely in family time, but in giving all glory and power and laud and honor to the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. We pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Roll call. President Small.
Here.
Vice President Gregory.
Here.
Councilmember Penn.
Here.
Councilmember Carroll.
Here.
Councilmember Reynolds.
Here.
Councilmember Daves.
Here.
Councilmember Jones.
Here.
Statement of rules.
And good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's good to see everybody this morning. Welcome to our December the 13th meeting. At this time, we do have rules at this meeting. At this time, I ask if anyone has any type of electronic device, including cell phone, iPads, etc., please at this time put it on the off or the vibrator position. The off or the vibrator position. Any person desiring to address the council must sign in indicating the resolution, the ordinance, appeal, a public hearing, agenda item before entering the meeting. When addressing the council, the speaker must state his or her name and address. Any person desiring to speak to the council on a non-agenda item must contact the city clerk office no later than 2:00 p.m. the Thursday prior to the council meeting. The subject that he or she wishes to express to the council must be identified and pertain to the city of Mobile business. Any person who has not given proper notice to the city clerk office and wishes to speak on a non-agenda item would not be allowed to address the council. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes to address the council. A bell will sound to indicate the end of 2 minutes. 1 minute remains for summarizing. The second bell indicates the time has expired. When addressing the council, there is to be no personal address to any individual council members. All statements are to be made to the chair, who will recognize any council members who wishes to respond. To maintain decorum, I'll say this one more time. To maintain decorum, There will be no undue applause and or public outcry allowed. Madam City Clerk.
Approval of minutes of December 6th.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes passed.
Communications from the mayor.
Good morning.
Good
Certainly
morning.
appreciate everybody being here today, taking time out of your schedule, come listen to the business of the city. Last Friday, for those who missed it, was the groundbreaking for the Mobile International Airport at Brookley. The groundbreaking was attended by Senator Shelby, Governor Ivey, Congressman Carl, and a host of other people. We anticipate that we'll be flying commercial aircraft out of Brookley in 2025, which will be a huge, huge change for our city, something that we've been working on for the last several years, and hopefully it will put us in better competition with those airports that are to our east and west and make the city of Mobile more competitive. This past weekend, we had Tire Amnesty Day. We had volunteers from the Peninsula of Mobile, the Dog River Clearwater Revival, and the Osprey Initiative, and we collected over 800 scrap tires that people dropped off. And we certainly appreciate you bringing them to those drop-offs instead of dropping them off on the side of the road. This weekend is the Lending Tree Bowl. It will host Southern Mississippi versus Rice. It will be at Hancock Whitney Stadium. This Friday evening, we'll kick off the events with the Greer's Market, AL.com Mardi Gras Style Parade. It'll be at 6:30 Friday night, this coming Friday night, and the game is this Saturday. The Mobile Parks and Recreation Department will have their first ever Christmas pageant this Thursday from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at Harmon Park. The public's invited to come out and enjoy the talents of people throughout the community that will be hitting the stage. Community members will be showcasing their special skills in music, singing, dancing, and more. This is a free family event. Again, it's at Harmon Park from 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. Also, we have a holiday extravaganza and toy giveaway. That's happening this weekend, sponsored by the Mobile Parks and Recreation Department. And then we have a special guest, and that'll be Santa Claus. And the event will be held from 10 to 2 this Saturday at James Seals Park. Attendees will enjoy the music of a live DJ. They'll have Christmas crafts there, bounce houses, games, and activity, and obviously photo ops with Santa Claus. This is done in participation with Tyler Bailey and is free to the public. Toy giveaways is limited. It's first come, first served. So we ask you that you would arrive early. At this time, Shonda Smith will make a presentation for which first, Shonda, Public Works or Public Services? Three, oh, you can do all three of them, okay? Then go ahead. These are employees of the months that we will be recognizing.
Good morning. We're going to have 3 different recognitions this morning. We have our Public Works at large, and we'll start with that with Nick Amberg, who will be recognizing one of our outstanding employees in engineering.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. It's with great pleasure and pride that I introduce you to Anthony Morris. Anthony came to us from Athens, Georgia, about 4 years ago. So we're reaching out across state lines to try to get technicians. We'll do whatever we can. He came to Mobile, wanted to move here because of family, came with his wife, Bobby, and 4 sons. Anthony loves to fish. He takes advantage of our many assets that we have in the community. So he is an avid fisherman and takes clear advantage of that. What Anthony does, if anybody drove a vehicle here today, you should thank Anthony because he worries about the bridge inspection program. He manages it. So when you drove across that bridge and you didn't think about it, well, he was thinking about it, and he thinks about it every 2 years and keeps a very, very important program on track for us. Also helps with our flood issues, with flood mapping, issuing addresses. He researches stuff with us through probates, does surveying, helps with forestry department with right-of-way issues concerning trees. There's really not a whole lot he doesn't do in our department. He very, very much helps us to keep that place running. And more importantly, he works with many departments, back and forth and sideways. And here's what they had to say about him. Anthony is respectful. He communicates well, has a calm demeanor. He helps keep me calm sometimes. I need as much of that as I can get. He's a pleasure to work with. He offers assistance to citizens and employees of other departments. And most importantly, he's a dedicated city employee that sets an example of what a public servant should be. So, Anthony, congratulations. Well deserved.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Thank y'all for everything. We moved down 4 years ago. We prayed, and so we hope this is the right thing. It has been the best thing for us. We love the city. We love, like I said, we love the golf. But the city, I came from a city where I was a city employee. I came here, and it was just the greatest move in my career. You know, my wife and I, this is home. This is where we'll retire. And I want to thank all the engineering department and all our people that voted for us. You know, I'll try to help anybody that needs any help. Just come and see me and we'll figure it out. Thank y'all.
Congratulations to you.
Next, I'm going to have Dexter Johnson is going to come up and talk about our Public Services Employee of the Month.
I'm here to introduce to you all our Public Service Maintenance Employee of the Month, Derek Peoples, which came to work for the city in 2009 in the Parks Department. Very easygoing family man. He's all about his family, go out his way to help his employees. A model employee. He's that employee that he's going to do what he can to help other people. He maintains the vacant lots that the city owns and don't complain. And he just does what needs to be done to get the job done. And I'm proud to say that he works for Public Service Maintenance.
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Carroll.
D, should I say it or shouldn't I? Derek spends more time in my district than anywhere else in the city of Mobile. Derek, I'm extremely proud and thankful that you work for this glorious city. You are the man.
And finally, we'll have Ms. Shonda Smith talk about our Parks and Rec Employee of the Month.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I have I am very honored to be able to award Mr. Fluker, Senior, the Employee of the Month. It is, I told staff, I said, so you know none of you all are coming to be able to present him because this is a man, I think every morning I get to go to public Parks and Rec, I'm looking for him. But when I first started, I remember meeting with Mr. Fluker, and he was telling me about all the basketball and football games. I said, can you show me the schedule? He brought out a yellow legal sheet with all of the games and all of the schedules. And I said, Mr. Fluker, we're going to need to put this on the computer. And he said, I'll try. And he did. So I always say it's willingness versus, can't versus want, right? Who really is willing to do it? Mr. Fluker does our background checks. Mr. Fluker does all of our coach safely, that they got to come through coaching. He makes sure that all of the coaches are in line because not one of them fight back with him. If Mr. Fluker says it, they do it. And so that meant a lot because we lost a lot of staff when we went to rec desk because they didn't want to learn how to use the computer. And Mr. Fluker jumped in feet first, and now he knows how to use rec desk better than I do. And so that showed a lot about, when people are talking about, I'm gonna call them our seasoned people we don't want anymore. We want them, we just want them to be able to work. And he was willing every step of the way to go, and it made a big difference from when I first started as well. I remember he pulled me to the side, and he was like, I like what you're doing. Keep going. And so most of the time when I'm about to make some people upset, and I look over at the mayor because I call him as well, Mr. Fluker is right behind me as well, saying this is what we need to do, and it makes a difference. Mr. Fluker has been working. We went back and forth with his wife. He said 67. She says 52. So I'm going to go with her. That he's been volunteering or working with Parks and Recreation, and he still does what he does with us on a daily basis. He's out with the kids. And I don't know if he's planning to leave anytime soon, but he is a major part to Parks and Recreation and what we do every day and the impact we make with the kids. So I want to honor Mr. Fluker for all of the work that he does, and we appreciate you.
Yeah, excuse the expression. Getting back to athletics, we're dealing with strictly with children. We have parents to deal with, but they off to the side. We're dealing strictly with children. As long as you keep the children happy, you call them by their name when you come to practice, you do this for them, you spend time with them, you take time with them. And I have still given time with Mobile Park and Recreation since, I'm going to say early 70s, she say 67, she say 52, but it feels like all my lifetime I've been dealing with kids. And this is what we need to do to feed the city of Mobile with better people than we see coming up now as children. The more attention, the more things you give them to do, the least they can get into. So we're going to go with that route. Now we'll come back to when Sumner Smith, Chad Collins, when they came in, you could see the change in their voices, that we need to be in another direction. And I was trying to see that we would get in that direction. But then I came up with a thing, and I told Chad the other day, I'm believing we won. Mobile Park and Recreation, they're not run by great people. They're run by ordinary people doing great things. That's it.
Congratulations to you.
Mr. President, while they're taking this picture, Mr. Fluker has been my neighbor for 53 years. I have watched him when I was a kid. He has put me out of the wreck. He has told me when I was coaching, Mr. Carroll, sit down, I'm going to tech you. He has helped me devise one of the greatest girls basketball team that ever came out of the city of Mobile. We actually won a national championship when we merged teams from his department and others, saying, Carol, you just can't play with who you have. You got to include everybody. He has been instrumental in Parks and Rec, going all the way back to when we played Summer League basketball before it was structured. He is the man, y'all. He is the man. So congratulations, Mr. Fugler. And thanks for being my neighbor, and I'll see y'all when y'all walk by tomorrow.
Yesterday, I had the opportunity to go speak to all the public services, public works department. It's called an all-hands meeting. And as I was walking across to get to where I was supposed to speak from, I had an opportunity just to pause for a couple of minutes. And just one of those incidents where I happened to stop to speak to Mr. Fluker. And in the course of that conversation, I said, how many years have you been working, with the city? And he said, since 1971. And of course, immediately my antenna went up and I thought, wow, that's amazing. And when he said that, I had recalled Shonda speaking of Mr. Fluker, and I think I had recalled about the yellow tablet and how he had overcome the computer to be able to computerize it. But something really hit me. Really, it was a kind of a conviction that he said. I said, from 1971 to 1991, because he had said that he really went on the payroll at 1991. I said, what'd you do? What were you doing those 20 years? Where were you working? And he said, I worked at Scott Paper and I worked at Georgia Pacific. And he said, but when I was there, they would ask me, when did I want to work? And he said, I always told them I wanted to work the night shift so that I could be with the kids during the day shift. I thought, oh my gosh. Mr. Fluker, you are a very special person. Our youth and our citizens are fortunate and blessed for what you've done. And so for that, I have the City of Mobile's Award of Excellence that I would like to present to you.
Congratulations again, Mr. Fluker.
Mr. President,
Ms. Gregory.
if I might, Mr. Fluker said something about being ordinary, that he's just an ordinary guy. I don't see anything ordinary about this gentleman in what he has done for Parks and Recreation and what he continues to do. The experience and expertise level that he has is, I guess you could just call it priceless. And I think it's wonderful that the coaches and the kids that he works with don't talk back to him. I think that's very impressive. So thank you and congratulations, Mr. Fluker, and everyone in Parks and Recreation. We hear you and we see you. Thanks for coming.
Mr. President, one last comment for the future. Mr. Fluker Jr. III, you got a long way to go to get, daddy shoes. Congratulations. I hope you do the same things that your dad has done for us kids, because I was one of his kids, and it's been a pleasure to have played, thrown out of the gym, like I said earlier, to be part of everybody's life. Thanks for being a neighbor again, Mr. Fluker.
Mr. President. Mr. Penn.
Mr. Fluker, I also want to just congratulate you for all the work that you have done. I called you, me and Mr. Collins called you to help us out in the situation with our basketball teams at Kiwanis Boys and Girls Club, and you was just so willing, whatever. But you said, you let me know, you know where I work at, so you go come see me, and we'll make it work. But I'm so grateful to have you. A lot of times I work with young people, and we know we don't do it for money. We know we don't do it for money, but a lot of times we don't get those awards. And I'm so happy that today you're being honored because you are needed. You are needed in our community, and you have been serving and giving your heart. And when I'm out there watching the games, everybody know you. They like, you better go talk to Mr. Fluke. And so they let me know that your legacy is so powerful. So thank you so much for everything that you are doing in the city of Mobile.
That concludes my remarks.
Madam Clerk, thank you.
Adoption of the agenda.
Been properly moved in second in the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Agenda is adopted.
Council, in accordance with the rules and regulations of the Rebuild Alabama Act, I would like to acknowledge that I have received the annual report from the City of Mobile. Appeals. We have a request for waiver of the noise ordinance on December 22nd on O'Shea Road.
So moved. Been properly moved in second in the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Appeal passed.
Public hearings. Today is the public hearing to declare the structures at 906 Donald Street, 1812 LeGrand Drive, and 1705 Northview Drive public nuisances and ordering them demolished.
This is open the public hearing for the said items. Is anyone present that would like to address the council? You may do so by coming down to the podium, stating your name and your address.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Nathaniel Oakley, and I'm here for 1812 LaGrange. And the paper I have that I've gotten from the city has a lot of stuff that they say has been not done to this property. But let me tell you a short story now. When I first took this property over about 3 years ago, I spent about $16,000 in it. And the problem with this property is not been the work being put into it, it's been having bad contractors. You know, and I put a roof on it last summer, tree fell in it. So I just been having problems getting people come back to do the repair. So it's not that it's been just neglected. And most of the nuisance that's probably been caused is because I have neighbors, because I don't come to the property all the time. Whenever they have trash or tear down something, they put it in front of that property. And so normally I get a letter and say, hey, you got a bunch of trash in front of that. Well, don't nobody live there. And I have a guy that go there every summer for 8 months and cut the grass twice a month. So it's not like the grass just grows up and everything. If you look at the property, most time it's maintained, other than, like I say, other people putting their trash there. So today I'm here to say I need a little more time to try to invest in this property than letting it be condemned.
Mr. Penn?
Yes. Dave, can you give us update about this property? Thank you
Yes.
for coming down and investing in our district. He's gonna explain it.
Good morning, David Dockenbaugh, Deputy Director of Municipal Enforcement. Yes, this particular property is going through the nuisance abatement program because it still does have some roof damage and some exterior wall damage. We're just now starting to see some evidence of termite infestation. The property owner did have a permit, however, it expired back in January of this year. And what we would need him to do is go forward, get that permit issued again, and begin the repairs so we can complete the process. Now, if he needs more time to do that, we can extend it. We have that ability. But again, we need to have him finish his project.
Okay. Is 60 days good for you? 60 days? Can you get, okay. Okay. All right, we can do that. All right, thank you.
Is anyone else present that would like to address this council on these particular public hearings? If not, the public hearings are closed.
Today is the public hearing to consider approval of a certificate of public convenience and necessity to Southwest Chapter of Alabama Coalition of Citizens with Disabilities to operate a shuttle service.
This open up the public hearing for this particular said item. Is anyone present that would like to address the council? You may do so by coming down to the podium, stating your name and your address.
My name is Raymond Stratford. I work at the Independent Living Center in Mobile, and I am the transportation director. And basically,
Let's get your address also, please. Speaking to the mic, we can barely.
My home address?
Yes.
5505 Cortez Drive. That's Mobile, Alabama.
Thank you.
Basically, we're just trying to serve the disabled population. We have buses at our center. E350, they basically seat 12, and we see 3 wheelchairs each bus. And a lot of ambulatory folks, we can see 12. Non-ambulatory, we can see 3, in wheelchairs. And it's just something that's needed in the community because we serve disabled individuals. So we're trying, I know we have the wave out there too, but we're just trying to start something that could kind of just help the disabled community.
Any questions from the council?
I have one question.
Ms. Gregory?
I think you probably just answered my question, but you mentioned that you work for the Independent Living Center, so your shuttle service will work with them, but other people who need your service as well. It's not
Correct.
limited to the
Correct.
Independent Living Center, correct?
Correct.
Okay. How many buses are you planning to?
We have 4.
You have 4. So those 4 buses are what
Yes.
oh, okay.
And we also will be receiving a minivan.
A minivan.
Yes. Now, the minivan only seats 1 wheelchair.
Yeah.
Another question from the council? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is anyone else present that would like to address the council on this particular public hearing? If not, this public hearing is closed.
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. David Clark.
Good morning, Mr. President, City Council, Mayor, Administration. My name is David Clark with Visit Mobile, 1 South Water Street. Standing with me today to my right is Brittany Gagliano, and to my left is Allison Floyd, Partnership Manager, Marketing and Events Manager. They have done a great job heavy lifting on this destination plan that we're about ready to embark on. I'm just super proud of the last 2 months they've done in terms of collaborating and trying to include the community. And I want to tell you a little bit more about what we're about ready to embark on with the Destination Next plan. What is Destination Next? It's a highly collaborative destination planning company. Destination Next is a partner with Next Factor and Destinations International. 300 destination assessments worldwide have participated in this plan. They have completed more than 70 strategic plans for destination marketing organizations worldwide and more than 20 comprehensive plans in North America. They have also compiled over 600 case studies of Next practices to help improve visitor experiences and community alignment and shared values. Measures destination strengths and variables throughout the community. Why now on this plan? To my knowledge, Visit Mobile has never done anything like this. We've done annual roadmaps, and then we've had metrics and results to deliver against that. We think now is the opportune time to do a highly collaborative community shared value destination plan, considering the current state of tourism and where the future is going for the next 3 to 5 years. So this is going to be a 3 to 5 year plan. We think our destination is really strong in some areas. The destination development, we're still growing a lot. Example, the cultural heritage tourism, the Mobile International Downtown Airport move, the 22-acre civic site revitalization, our waterfront, our tourism improvement district is going to be renewed, hopefully, in the next 18 months. So, you know, the goal here is to be inclusive and have input from surveys for stakeholders and focus groups. How can we improve as a destination? How can Visit Mobile improve? What do we have? What do we need? So examples of the inclusion of the project are the accommodations, the attractions, the restaurants, events, young professionals, transportation, government, elected officials, residents, community organizations, and nonprofits will be involved in this from focus groups and surveys. So we'll have over 300 community leaders and probably send over 4,000 surveys via email for input. The City Council will receive an email this week with the destination survey link. We hope that you'll fill it out by late January. You'll be invited to attend a Zoom call for 60 minutes in January. You'll also receive an email from me on that. We hope that you'll include the survey link to your residents. Obviously, the residents are a big thing in tourism for us. So we can always improve, and we hope to go to 3.2 million visitors now to 5 million visitors in 26, 27 annually. Thank you.
Mr. Day, we thank you so much for giving us the update. Thank you for what your team is doing. Any questions or comments from the council?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Mr. Jones.
Yeah, David, I just want to say again, thank you in a public forum for all that you do for this city. You truly do put us on the map in so many different places. I wish you'd take us off with the beaches because we don't want to ruin our secret. But in all honesty, you do a great work throughout this city for all of the right reasons, and appreciate you and your team and what they mean to the city. Thank you.
We're grateful for all of y'all. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Timothy Jensen.
My name is Timothy Jensen. My address is 5150A, Albert Evans Road South, Wilmer, Alabama, 36587. I am the development director at the Mission of Hope, a local faith-based residential addiction recovery program that's been serving this community for more than 50 years. Mayor Stimson, members of the city council, city staff, citizens of Mobile present and watching online, I'm here today to raise a hallelujah. I'm here today to raise a hallelujah because there are 20 states who have gone before Alabama and passed medical marijuana legislation. They've gone down this road ahead of us, And they're now calling back to us to tell us what lies ahead if this legislation passes. I'm here to raise a hallelujah because they're sending studies and reports that warn us of the myriad of negative outcomes that will happen in our state if this legislation passes. I'm here to raise a hallelujah because there is factual, undeniable evidence in front of this council that they will not ignore because of the terrible consequences it will bring to their constituents and to the outlying community. I'm here to raise a hallelujah because this council has the information it needs to make an informed and wise decision based on the results that have come back from those who have gone ahead. I'm grateful this council clearly sees the evidence does not point in any positive direction beyond some revenue generation. And they're going to make a decision today to vote no to medical marijuana dispensaries in Mobile. They'll vote no because this legislation doesn't work. It doesn't work economically. Colorado University proves that for every $1 of revenue that comes into the city, society must pay $4.50 to clean up the aftermath. This legislation does not work socially. The amount of evidence proves that illegal use of marijuana among teenagers increases as much as 200% in the 2 years that follow an ordinance like this that will pass. Child neglect and abuse has risen in every state in years after medical marijuana legislation has passed. I'm here to raise a hallelujah because this council will choose to say no to increased illegal use of marijuana among our teenagers and increased child abuse and neglect. I am grateful that this council has seen that this legislation also does not work medically. The causes and conditions this legislation proposes to treat with medical marijuana are not proven to be effective, which is why the FDA has not approved them for these uses. This city council is remembering that the greatest addiction problem in America is under the umbrella of medically prescribed opioids, and this legislation simply mirrors that failed process. This legislation, they're going to say no to it today. And I'm going to raise a hallelujah because they're going to recognize that the pressure to pass this is not coming from its citizens, but from political entities and rich investors. I'm here to raise a hallelujah today because this governing body is going to say no to this medical marijuana dispensaries in Mobile. And when they do, I won't be the only one to raise a hallelujah.
And as I stated in our rules, please no undue applause or public outcry is allowed at this meeting. Thank you. Madam City Clerk.
Michelle Simons.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Michelle Blake Simons, and I live at 1106 Savannah Street. I'm a founding member of Wade in the Water, which is a multiracial. Am I okay with the mic? Yes, okay. Multiracial faith-based alliance. I want to start by just saying something about the context of why I come down here. I don't like speaking here. I think a lot of people don't. I feel stupid and vulnerable, and it's not a pleasure. But I was just looking at Matthew 25 for a project I was working on, and it's that glorious passage where Jesus says, when I was hungry, you fed me, and when I was thirsty, you gave me drink, and when I was in prison, you visited me. And the righteous say, when did we do that, Lord? And Jesus says, as you have, I like this line a lot, as you have done to the least of these, so have you done to me. I think we all understand that it's a blueprint for faith-based lives. It's what we want to do with our lives. It's what we want to accomplish. But I think Jesus is saying something else here that's really important, and that is that the divine is in every single one of us. And that means that we are all connected this way. That until we're all free, nobody's free. Until we're all fed, nobody's fed. That's what gets me down here. I'm not trying to make your jobs harder. I'm not trying to make enemies. I'm not trying to make problems. I just want to sleep well at night. So, administration and council don't yet have a completed annexation plan in place, which is why we haven't seen one, and I get that. We can see it when you're done. In the interest of furthering your negotiations about this plan, I've just brought 4 very simple questions that I've culled from the Mobile citizens. I'm going to just hand a list of them to the clerk before I leave. I'll just outline them. briefly here. One of the first concerns came up is that Mobile is steadily losing citizens. Maybe we should find out why and what we can do to change that, as one thing. Two, the people of color voting majority, city government must maintain the current people of color voting majority as established within the current city limits. I believe there was an earlier annexation. I don't know why that failed exactly, but I'm interested in other people have asked what have those issues been addressed. And finally, we all know that we have current neighborhoods within the city that are marked by substandard housing and city services. 30% of the children in Mobile live below the poverty line. This means that 30% of the children in Mobile are hungry every single day. I guess my question is, and I guess the question I've heard, are we going to go out and bring more children in when we're not taking care of the children we have? Let's turn our attention to the things that need to be done in Mobile now, then we can get bigger. I also put in here a couple of suggestions for getting bigger, not the least of which is the development of the Clotilda Museum and Africatown. Montgomery brought in $1 billion in 2019.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming down, Ms. Simmons. Let me ask you a question. Did you leave 7 copies or 8 copies? Did you leave it?
I'm sorry, what?
The questions. Did you say you could pass them to the council? Did you?
I have 4, just 4 questions that I'll leave. Can I leave?
Yeah, what I'm going to ask Ms. Lambert, if you can just share that with the council and also with the administration. And I'm going to ask the administration if they will answer Mr. Simmons and copy the council on those answers and everything. Thank you so much for coming down.
John Arundel.
John Arundel, 370 Charleston Court. I'm here today first to thank all of you for your service to our community, but to also thank you for your support of the Mobile Law Enforcement Foundation, and then kind of give you an update on what we accomplished in 2022 and what we believe is coming in 2023. 2022 has been a great year of growth for us. The short answer of what the foundation does is enhance the Mobile Police Department in order to keep our communities safe. And there's several ways to do that, but won't get into that today. Really want to talk about the things we've accomplished. We have grown supporters by leaps and bounds this year, and that was because of our goal of getting awareness out to the community that we are here to support the men and women of blue. That has really taken off. We have a program called Buy a Cop a Meal program, self-explanatory. We have an SOS card program. Some of you going through hard times may receive a card where a donation's been made to an organization in your name or in somebody's honor. That's the SOS program. In 2022, we provided, I forget how many thousands of lunches to the police department during Mardi Gras. We, with this council's help, provide the expense, take on the burden of the expense for the Mobile Police Department's annual awards banquet held at the Battle House in May. Tonight, as it sits, we are hosting the Mobile Police Department for their annual Christmas party, and it's a fantastic time. And then we also send expressions of sympathy to any of those lost or family members lost with the police department. We're doing a lot of work with Operation Echo Stop, which helps reduce violent crime in Mobile. We put out griddles in all of the precincts. It was really a morale tactic to give back to the police and give them a place at their precincts to cook together. We provided some ice makers. We provided lunch the day Precinct 1 moved into their new location. Through increasing our supporters this year, we did it through a mass mail campaign, which was very successful and appreciative of those that helped us with it. We have 2 large annual events that are main fundraisers for us, and that is a clay shoot, which is in March of every year. And then recently, most of you attended our annual luncheon where we had Navy SEAL Jason Redmond speak. And it was just another way to get the word out to our community of what we're doing to support law enforcement, but more importantly, making our communities safer. We are seeing a lot of support, not only come out of the citizens in Mobile, but neighboring areas that believe Mobile's got to be safe. The police department's got to continue to be strong in order for their communities to stay safe as well. So again, thank you for your support. Hope to have your continued support. I know the men and women in blue do appreciate it.
Thank you for your hard work and everything, Mr. Davis.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Arundel, for coming down and speaking to us today, and for the work you and all the members of your board. And would you mind introducing? I see you have your executive director up here, and you have some of your board members. If you would just introduce those.
Yes, thank you for asking. Jean Downing, she is our executive director and came on board this year. And someone actually funds her pay so that every dollar that we raise goes straight to the police department. We've got board member Steve Hand and Captain Matt Garrett.
Thank you all for being with us today. I think it's really important the work you're doing. Our police officers are going through a very difficult time for the last number of years, and any support we can provide to them is very, very welcome, especially citizen-initiated support. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Yeah, I just also want to echo the comments made and say thank you to you and all of the police officers out that do protect and serve this city on a daily basis. Thanks just isn't enough to say. Hopefully we follow that up by our actions by this council and by the elected officials that provide you the resources and services that you need. Thank you.
Ms. Gregory?
Yes, and just briefly, I want to echo what my colleagues have said. John, thank you very much. Jean, Steve, everybody on the board for what you are doing to bring more attention to what our public safety officers need, what they do. And we are happy to be a part of making some of that possible. So thank you. I look forward to much more good work from you all. And we just really, again, appreciate all that you do for our police officers, because they certainly deserve it.
And thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.
Dale Pfeiffer.
Dale Pfeiffer, 107 Providence Street, Mobile, Alabama. This is my wife, Reba. Thank you, Mayor Stimson, President Small, City Council members, and administration for your opportunity to share about the mission of Driftwood Housing. Our mission is to build shelters and homes for the chronically homeless where they will receive care and services in a safe and healthy environment. Driftwood Housing is a nonprofit construction and property management corporation. We build affordable housing for our displaced neighbors living outside. All tenants will pay monthly rent ranging from $300 to $500 to help cover community costs. Our all-electric micro-house shelters, also called wooden tents, are under 120 square feet and include a heating and air conditioning unit, a bed, a microwave, and a refrigerator. Some units will have a front porch. The cost to build a microhouse is approximately $7,000. Most transitional housing villages in America use a microhouse model. We've learned from Portland that it's best practice to do no more than 30 units in a campus-style configuration with shared facilities, such as an outdoor kitchen, a laundry room, bathrooms, and showers. We currently have funding to build several micro-houses. Seattle provided the plans. Our all-electric tiny houses have plumbing and are under 400 square feet. These units will meet the criteria of Housing First, permanent housing referrals. These units will include everything that a micro-house includes, with the additions of a bathroom and a kitchen. HUD defines a chronically homeless as being continually homeless for a year or more. We concur. That would add, we would add to that philosophy Community First model in Austin, Texas, that homeless people have experienced a family crisis and become permanently maligned from their core family. Tenant care and services will come from healthy neighbors, volunteers, recovery groups, and local physical and mental health service providers. Some of these services have already committed to visiting our communities. We will also provide transportation for tenants that need services through our missionals who live alongside the tenants. Safety is extremely important to us, therefore all campus-style communities will be gated. Many cities have established campus-style communities that are housing the displaced. During our 3 days in Austin, Texas, from the Community First Village Symposium, we formed a Community First Gulf Coast Alliance with like-minded attendees from Florida and Mississippi. We have many excellent homeless shelters and service providers in the city of Mobile, but we believe that a campus-style community.
Mr. Pfeiffer, yeah, we appreciate you coming down, and I see that you'll ask that you hope that the city of Mobile will help Driftwood Housing to achieve and stated mission, and our greatest need is property and et cetera. I'm gonna ask if Ms. Keisha Brown, you can just give him one of your cards and communicate with Ms. Brown. Ms. Brown is the liaison between the council and the administration, and see what the administration can look at and see if there's a system that can help you all with and everything. But thank you all so much for coming down.
Thank you very much.
Mary Ann Merchant regarding ordinance 83068. Followed by Barbara Cadell regarding ordinance 83068.
Good morning, Council. For the record, my name is Mary Ann Merchant, and I reside at 401 Eroser Drive in Saraland. I am the president-elect of the Mobile chapter of the League of Women Voters, which, as you may know, is a nonpartisan organization that supports good government. We believe that active participation by an informed citizenry is essential to a healthy democratic process. The League supports the annexation ordinance because it sets the ground rules for gathering data that will be fundamental to the decision to take on more territory. An annexation study will ensure that all citizens have equal access to the facts underlying your decision, which in turn builds trust that the decision is rational based on solid information and in the best interest of our citizens for both the short and long term. So thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of this ordinance, and I hope all you have a wonderful holiday season.
I'd like to say that Ms. Merchant is just retired from the city as our assistant city clerk. It's good to see you this morning.
Barbara Cadell.
Good morning.
Morning.
Let me see if I can get this off so I can be heard. My husband wishes I wore this all day long. Anyway, my name is Barbara Cadell. I'm a proud resident of District 2, 1321 Dauphin Street, 36604. I rise in support of my friend and colleague, Mary Ann Merchant, to advocate for Mr. Carroll's ordinance on annexation. Of course, it promotes transparency and good government. That goes almost without saying. We've all bemoaned the current political divisiveness that we have in our society, not just in Mobile. And it's our position in the League and mine personally that the more light we shed on something, the better the decision-making is. So I advocate for this ordinance for transparency. In addition, it promotes permanency and certainty. When I think of a resolution, I think about all the times I have resolved on New Year's Eve that this year I'm going to lose weight. And if you see me, you'll know my resolution didn't happen. So I encourage you to leave a legacy of good government by promoting transparency, certainty, and good decision-making, rather than making a resolution that may or may not happen 25 years from now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next speakers are speaking to resolution 01062. I'm sorry, ordinance 01062. Madeline Blanchard.
Good morning. I'm
Morning.
Madeline Blanchard, 412 Dolphin Street, Apartment H, 36602. Esteemed council people, I am grateful for this opportunity to talk, and I apologize. I was supposed to talk last week, but I had to go out of town. I am a board-certified pediatrician who has also done a child adolescent psychiatry fellowship, and I serve young children with mental health issues, especially in early childhood mental health. I'm here because I want to oppose the proposition of having medical cannabis dispensaries. It has been documented and discussed last week and this week that marijuana is a gateway drug. My colleague last week, Dr. Ashby, talked about the direct effects of cannabis on children. This is talking about medical marijuana, but there have been no evidence-based programs or studies to show that medical marijuana actually works. It is all anecdotal, and this is a big step to have a concern that will give out marijuana just based on anecdotal kinds of situations. But I'd like to talk about the indirect effects on children, especially small children. In 1997, Dr. Folletti did a study with Kaiser Permanente about adverse childhood experiences and how adverse childhood experiences in very young children lead to big problems in adults, like diabetes, asthma, different cancers. This has been shown over and over and over again since his original study. And what is the adverse childhood experiences? The big ones are abuse, neglect, and having a parent who has a medical, who is addicted to drugs. They are not emotionally available for their children. And when their children are not emotionally available, what affects little kids now is that kids need to have their emotional needs met. And if they have a parent that's checked out, i.e. on drugs, then they can't get those emotional needs met, and they act out. And we have somebody from the school board here, and he can tell you that's the biggest problem that teachers have is kids don't know how to regulate their own emotions. But if they have parents who don't know how to do that, they can't have that. And I'm afraid that this is going to open the for that. My question is why do we need these dispensaries? The science isn't there to say that this works, number one. Number two, we already have dispensaries. They're called pharmacies. How are you going to monitor this? How do we know how much is in each of the pills? Who's going to be the one to decide that? And that's my question. And please think of the children, please, because this is a slippery slope. And when you ring the bell, it can't be unrung.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sam Sinclair.
Sam Sinclair. I live at 10708 Southern Oaks.
Hold on, Mr. Sinclair. Hold up. Ma'am, thank you. Started this minutes back. I apologize for that.
No worries. I live at 10708 Southern Oaks Court in Grand Bay, and I am the pastor at Cloverleaf Baptist Church at 6500 Three Notch Road. And I am here to speak in opposition to the ordinance regarding the cannabis dispensaries. Just want to lay out several reasons why, as a pastor and as a citizen, why I'm in opposition. The first reason is that medical cannabis gives legitimacy to the abuse of marijuana. I'm sure many advocates would argue in favor of the supposed medical benefits. But the reality is, and other states have shown this, that medical marijuana is simply a stepping stone. It is a waypoint to a destination of allowing recreational marijuana. It normalizes marijuana use. Simply making marijuana-infused gummies and brownies, those are designed to make marijuana seem fun and normal, and yes, those are geared towards children. Second reason for opposition, it's difficult, if not impossible, to regulate these dispensaries. While traditional pharmacies face strict regulation and oversight ensuring the proper dispensing of potentially dangerous drugs. Medical marijuana dispensaries operate outside the normal chains of pharmaceutical manufacturing and oversight. Additionally, those who would frequent such places have long operated in the shadows outside the enforcement of laws. Why would we expect them to follow the laws now? What limitations will these dispensaries face? Will they prescribe only for physical maladies? Why not allow mental illness and depression? Why have any limitation at all? A third reason, I believe that allowing medical marijuana will worsen the drug problem that we have within this city. Making drugs more readily available, like marijuana, even if they are under the guise of medical marijuana, will put more drugs onto the streets. And by the way, we understand how supply and demand works. Marijuana creates a greater demand as it goes along. It won't take long for patients to realize that their prescriptions will carry great value on the street, selling them to others. But my greatest concern is that marijuana and drugs in general destroy lives. No matter what you call it, it is a mind-altering drug that is nearly impossible to take in moderation. Numerous studies that have already been mentioned show the destructive effects of this. As a pastor, I see the effects of these drugs in people's lives. Rather than making life-destroying and relationship-wrecking drugs more available, this council should determine instead how to better help those whose lives have been wrecked by such drugs. I care about the well-being of the city. I care about loving our neighbors as ourselves. I care about this council doing what is good and right in the sight of God. Opening dispensaries to give marijuana undeserved legitimacy, dispensaries that will be difficult to regulate, that will make drugs more readily available, and ultimately destroying lives is a bad decision. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Kathy Odom, followed by Carol Wilson.
Hello, my name is Kathy Odom. I live at 2520 Cedar Point Road, Mobile, Alabama, 36605. I'm retired. I'm 73 years old, and I've lived in Mobile all my life. I've raised 2 sons in Mobile. Both are responsible, self-supporting, and God-fearing. I hope that my grandchildren can reap the same benefits in my city, state, and country. My sons are too busy working and raising a family, so it is up to me to speak up for God, country, and family. I hope that our elected officials up here will listen to we, the people. I attended the City Council meeting in mid-November and the City Council committee meeting in late November. I was told by people before I attended, don't waste your time. The vote for the marijuana dispensaries, it's a done deal, already done. Don't waste your time. Well, I'm passionate about what I believe when something's right or wrong, and I'm going to speak up. And like the good Lord said, I'd rather you be hot or cold than lukewarm, because I'll spit you out. And Mr. Jones and I have a lot of the same personality. I appreciate the way he spoke up. And I know Mr. Carroll and Mr. Penn at those meetings thought we were being confrontational.
Don't call no council member names. I just
and
talk
argumentative.
directly to me. Thank you.
Okay. Anyway, we're not trying to be argumentative or confrontational. We want a debate. We want it out in the open. Okay, I have 6 things that I have observed and I have concerns over. Number 1 is follow the money. Who benefits from the dispensaries? Any quid pro quo? How much money for city and state? How much money will the entrepreneurs make? And who are they? Who owns the 5 farms? I think there's 5 farms in Alabama that will raise the marijuana. Okay, number 2, who is to police these shops? Is the patient getting his money's worth? Is the product tainted? Who will make sure that the product is safe and accurate, is measured accurately? What if the shop is operating illegally? Chief Batiste could not answer this. Very little supervision on existing vape shops. The 2 officers in charge in Montgomery that spoke on the Zoom call did not give a good answer. They came across as unprepared and lacking knowledge and how it would all work. This was an embarrassment for Alabama. Doctors must go through, I think, 4 months training before they are allowed to write prescriptions under this process.
Christine Carr, who was a medical expert, had years of experience in training and research. It sounds like we are making psychologists out of a lot of medical personnel in 4 months period of time. Presently, there are 4 medical marijuana prescriptions available. It has been said that some people without insurance cannot afford the present medical marijuana and must resort to the black market. Will and how will the dispensaries solve this problem? Is that my end?
Yes.
Okay, I asked for a no vote on marijuana dispensaries, too much unknown, and we
Thank
do
you, Ms.
not
Odom.
need a buyer's remorse in Mobile.
Thank you so much, Ms. Odom.
Carol Wilson, followed by Melissa Gates.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Carol Wilson, 489 Bartlett Avenue, Fairhope, Alabama, 36532, and I'm speaking against passing of the ordinance. Chairman Small, I ask that you consider the following findings from the Federal Drug Administration, the National Institute of Drug Abuse, the Center for Disease Control, and the findings from news articles written about the black market marijuana. And I also ask you to consider the disclaimers that are provided by those who market unapproved marijuana products. The FDA states that no product containing cannabis or cannabis-derived compounds, either plant-based or synthetic, is safe or effective for use in any patient population, whether pediatric or adult. Only FDA-approved products are found to be safe and effective and are dispensed through pharmacies. The CDC states certain compounds in marijuana products may affect your brain or body in harmful ways. No federal standards have been implemented for the quality and safety of marijuana products sold in state-based medical marijuana dispensaries. These products are not approved by the FDA. To address the argument that the use of marijuana is an alternative to opioid use, according to the National Institute of Drug Abuse, a new study underscores the need for additional research and cautions against drawing a causal connection between the two. The argument that legalization through dispensaries will deter the black market is a wish that is hope-filled but does not come true. Rutgers Center for Alcohol and Drug Abuse published a written position paper that argues the black market is thriving despite medical marijuana dispensation. Politico published an article on November 13, 22, that the black market strangled California's legal marijuana market and is now dominating the market in New York City. I ask that you please exercise your wise authority and not allow the proliferation of marijuana in the city of Mobile. Thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa Gates, followed by Michael C. Dow.
Good morning.
Morning.
Melissa Gates, 1280 Rigby Road, 36608. I'm coming to you kind of emotional because I had a son that lived on the streets for 5 years, hooked on drugs. He was raised in church. It doesn't matter. Drugs don't care what color you are. They don't care where you came from. Only by the grace of God, he is not down that road anymore. He is living for the Lord. He is almost finished with a degree in theology from Liberty University. But that's not always the case. And marijuana at the age of 15 was his gateway drug. And he was very cunning, smart, manipulative. He figured out how to get one of them medical cards in Florida. I'm pretty sure there's probably a lot of smart drug dealers out there and drug addicts that can do the very same thing. He also was a bit of a dealer. And when he got his hands on drugs that he didn't take, he would sell it. So I'm pretty sure these people going in here getting these, with the medical cards, getting these marijuana pills, will also sell them on the streets. on behalf of Ashley Rich, who was supposed to be here today to speak as well against this. She has been very outspoken in Mobile, speaking at women's groups. I've witnessed 2 of them, of the dangers of these kids. She knows Juvie Hall has these children, most all of them, all started out with marijuana, 12, 14 years old. And y'all know this because, you know, I love my city. And I'm afraid that in the near future, the homelessness is going to get worse. The crime is going to get worse because of this. Thank you for listening to me, and y'all have a Merry Christmas. Keep Christ in Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael C. Dow, followed by Lynn Wynn Hoach.
Mike Dow, 1012 Palmetto Street, Mobile, Alabama. This last lady impacted me. I had a son that committed suicide, schizophrenic, addicted to everything in the world, okay? He said, Dad, the only time I can think straight is when I have some kind of one of these drugs, okay? Now, that was not the right thing for him. That was a bad thing, okay? My son committed suicide. I spent 3 years in Vietnam. Veterans of our country are at the rate of 24 a day committing suicide. Another 22 are dying from opioids. These medicines that the University of Alabama in Birmingham, UAB, are producing are medicines that help these people. They're medicines. It's not smokable marijuana. It's not cowboy stuff from California and Colorado. These are medicines. UAB healed a number of people with these medicines, and it influenced our legislature to where a large majority voted to have these medicines be allowed to be produced inside of our state. They worked with the Alabama Medical Association at length. They did studies, 450 doctors from all disciplines. 70% of them voted to do this. Right now, 47 cities in our state have done this. We're the only top 10 city who hasn't. Every city around us is. So this is happening all over the country. Why? Because every major university, every major science lab are researching the tremendous qualities that exist in this plant that have healing powers. You can take anything and use it illegally or use it wrong. You can drink a bottle of alcohol or you can take a drink. There are microdoses in this medicine that help people. And I can go on and on and on. I've got a stack of stuff that tall of individual cases of people that have been healed and the different qualities. Hospice. I had a guy tell me the other day, my father was in hospice, and if he hadn't had medical marijuana, he would not have known us in the end of his life. It allowed him to know us and stay with us. And this kind of reminds me of raising ad valorem for public schools. Boy, I took a beating on that, but it turned out to be a great thing to do. And you guys and gals know that leadership, getting above some of the noise and really doing your research. I've given you the documents that show how stringently this is regulated. They've even got software, guards that the software from seed to sale. They won't even let us have any part of that product missing that to be sold on the side. They've got guards at the door, locks on the door, cards the state gives you, a doctor's prescription. There's no mishandling done here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So all I'm saying passionately is saying this is a medicine.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Lynn Hoach, followed by Mark Minard.
Good morning. I'm Lynn Hoach, and my address is 6113 Appaloosa Drive. So, if I can say, pray. Lord, I pray for everyone in this meeting. I pray for those who have ears. let them hear, and who have eyes, let them see. So, to the honorable council member. So my question is, who will be regulating the dispensary? And what is the requirement to purchase a dispensary? When it is purchased, what are the requirements that keep it safe and manage it? Who will enforce those requirements? Or will it be like a newspaper stand or parking meter where you pop in your money and pull out your pot? So I'm against this is because I care about the children and I want them to be raised in a place that is safe. We have high crime rate right now already. This is not going to help the situation. So I pray that the council would pray about it before you make your decision. And all of y'all probably were raised in a Bible-based family, a Christian-based family. So your parents have prayed over for you where you at. And much is giving and much is required as you are sitting up there making decisions that would impact every life, every generation. So it's going to affect your grandkid, your great-grandkid, and so on and so on. And thank you for your time. And have Christmas in your Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Minard, followed by Sarah.
How do y'all do? Mark Minard, 312 North Joachim Street. I just want to briefly discuss, there have been a lot of arguments for and against medical marijuana. But those arguments were from Montgomery. This is already passed. Right now, every city around us allows dispensaries. So whatever you believe the negative consequences, and I'm not going to argue what they are, but if you believe there are negative consequences, we're going to face those negative consequences regardless. There's nothing stopping a nefarious actor from going to Spanish Fort, from going to Daphne, or Loxley, or wherever else that it's legalized, getting what they want, bringing it back. So any cost that we have, and I believe he said a social cost of $4.50 for every dollar of revenue. Well, that's exponentially better than $0 revenue for $4.50 of social costs. And that's what we'd be facing if we don't pass this. This is our opportunity to capitalize on that revenue, to get whatever revenues there are, whatever taxes there are, plus to provide some social consequence. We have 10,000 residents in Mobile County that don't have access to a private vehicle, or 10,000 households, excuse me. That's 10,000 people that aren't going to be able to get to Spanish Fort for medicine. Now, these aren't going to be the nefarious actors. These are going to be people with ALS, end-stage cancer, people who can benefit from this medicine. Right now, the only thing not passing this ordinance is going to do is stop our poorest and sickest residents from getting the medicine they need and deserve, and the state has determined they're allowed to have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Sarah, followed by Linda Perot.
Good morning. I'm Sarah McCoy, and I reside at 1401 Dolphin Street, District 2. I'm here today in support of the proposed medical marijuana dispensary in the city of Mobile. I'm not here to state statistics or discuss the right or wrong of the issue. I'm here to tell my story. I've suffered with chronic cervical nerve pain for 30 years. I've had 23 injections of Botox in my scapula, as many epidurals, facet blocks, and nerve blocks my insurance will allow. I'm now seeing my fourth pain management doctor in those 30 years. I've been prescribed a vast plethora of anticonvulsants, muscle relaxers, opioids, and antidepressants. I'm lucky not to be a drug addict or alcoholic in my search for a pain-free life. I've been treated with acupuncture, traction therapy, therapeutic massage, and physical therapy. In addition to 2 cervical surgeries, one that left me with permanent nerve damage in my right arm, I now have 2 herniated discs in my lower back that cause pain when I'm lying down, sitting, standing, and walking. Constant pain. A heating pad and large ice pack are my best friends. I had 2 ankle surgeries that left me with neuropathic pain and permanent nerve damage in my foot. 2.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer that led to a bilateral mastectomy. My cancer has a high rate of recurrence, only kept in check with a nightly pill that causes even more bone and joint pain. There have been times that my pain has been so severe that I wondered if life was worth living. My rate of daily pain is 7 to 10. I've asked my friends not to ask me how I'm feeling anymore, as it is depressing to constantly talk about it. I told them to assume that I feel like, and excuse me, living hell all the time. It is painful for me to watch the faces of those friends, my family, and especially my husband, when they witness my suffering. Medical marijuana is now legal in the state of Alabama. Research has proven that it could finally allow me and the thousands of Mobilians that suffer along with me the opportunity to live the rest of our days, weeks, months, and years without pain. Please do not force me and others to drive to other municipalities just to be able to fill the prescriptions that we will be eligible to receive right here at home. I will celebrate my 70th year of life in 13 days. My dream is to simply ride my bicycle again. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Linda Perot, followed by Zach Huey.
Good morning. I'm Linda Peru. I live at 13095 Tanner Williams Road. I'm a registered nurse, been doing this for 43 years. As we've heard this morning, we've heard Ms. Gates talk about her son, it being a gateway drug. We've heard how her son would manipulate the system. That can happen here. Marijuana is a gateway drug. It's been proven by the National Institutes of Health. All of my research is from the National Institutes of Health. THC promotes, it primes the brain for enhanced responses to all other drugs. So in other words, you're going to need more drug after you take THC. You're going to have that urge for more. So it leads to other drugs. It affects the person by impaired short-term memory, attention, their judgment, their coordination, their balance. It increases their heart rate. People with heart problems taking this, who's going to monitor that? Anxiety. It increases anxiety and paranoia. It creates psychosis if you take it with, say, other drugs, such as antidepressants. Ms. Carr talked about that in the committee meeting, how it increases psychosis and causes it. It interferes with your sleep. It lowers your IQ. In the workplace, are these people who's going to be taking this? Are they going to be on disability? Will they be allowed to work? Well, here's the statistic on that. It increases their risk of workplace injury by 55% if they are taking this drug. It increases workplace accidents by 85% in injury. 75% greater absenteeism in the workplace. Will they be put on disability? Will they be able to drive? Think about the liability here. What about what Dr. Blanchard talked about, the purity of the drug? Will it be manufactured as the FDA requires? Will it be pure? Will it have the right amount in every single pill? That raises liability not only to the dispensary, to the state, because they enacted this. It creates, if you have to be put on disability, that's more socioeconomic problems. You know, you have somebody on disability, you have somebody that's not contributing to society. It increases the crime.
Yeah, thank you so much.
One more word.
Thank you.
Just please, please, in your heart, think about this. We have plenty of time. We do not have to opt in today.
Thank you so much.
Zach Huey, followed by Pete Ream.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to step out for just a minute.
Yes, sir.
My name is Zachary Huey. I live at 516 Polo Trace in Daphne. I am applying for a dispensary license. I debated about speaking here today because I'm nervous speaking before this crowd. I'm also concerned about some of the hateful and hurtful rhetoric I've heard, and frankly untruthful statements from the no side, and the potential blowback that could have on my young family that I'm raising here along the bay. I came here to speak because I want to tell you who I am and why I'm applying for this. I was born in Providence Hospital and grew up along the bay. I was raised to believe to care for others, and I was raised to believe in freedom and personal choice. Why am I doing this? Because people who I care about, people you've heard from today, as well as people I'm related to, have suffered from debilitating cancer and other ailments without a full range of options. Not to belabor the stories you've already heard, but to share another, my aunt, who also had cancer, suffered from extreme nausea. The only option Big Pharma gave her was a $1,300 shot. The average price per unit for a cannabis product is around $79. That would be 5 doses versus 1 dose at $1,300. Furthermore, and what's even more important and jarring to me, is that we would stand here today and not offer the freedom of choice to the members of this community to have control over their health decisions. I believe in individuals' ability to make the best decision for themselves, and I'll stand by my community members as they make those decisions. It doesn't mean I want harm, that doesn't mean I want ill, and I hope we can all care for each other if those things arise and address them together. So, with all that being said, I'm applying for this license because I grew up as a part of this community. I've seen people who are hurt, and I believe this will give people more options in their health care and give them choices in how they care to treat themselves and the things that are best for them. Thank you.
Pete Ream.
Good morning. My name is Pete Ream. I live at 3904 Camellia Drive, 3693. My concern is what this debate is really about. Because marijuana is not new. This debate is not about whether it has medical applications or benefits. It does. It's been around for centuries, for thousands of years. And this debate is not about denying anyone a medication or a treatment that could benefit them. It's not about that. But these dispensaries, as proposed to me, leave many more unanswered questions than answered questions. Because I'm listening to all these people, and I'm very puzzled because marijuana in pharmacies is and has been available. It is available right now and has been available by prescription at CVS or whatever your preferred pharmacy is. So what I try to understand is if you have some synthetic, some processed, why are we, the questions, if there's this demand is there, why are we not working with pharmacies who can properly control this to make this product more available? Why are we not using the tried and proven infrastructure, pharmacies on every corner that can control this? Why are we not doing that? How does a dispensary work without the benefit of a pharmacist? This is a controlled substance. It comes on the table of drugs. And if those of you who have to take medications know, your doctor, your pharmacist takes a look at what you're on and make sure that they don't either counteract each other or work in tandem to hurt you. That benefit does not answer that question at a dispensary. Who's going to do that? Again, why don't we do that in the pharmacy where it is already available? You know, there's already terrible problems with opioid prescriptions being abused and overflowing into our schools and people who are using them as intoxicants and not for their. How does a blanket prescription card work with lesser control? Does anybody believe that we're not going to see this problem continue to get bigger? And the same thing with the prescription card. So that's sort of a blanket prescription. So what I worry about, or the concern is, are we doing a disservice to those with PTSD who need genuine help and need to be working with a professional and not going down there and self-medicating themselves by the way there? How's that different than the guy sitting at a bar getting sloppy drunk? These are all the questions that I have in all of this. And really, at the end of the day, what I don't understand is why none of the mental health professionals that I've talked to in this town who treat PTSD will endorse this. And if this is something that we really need, why are we not expanding this through the pharmacies? Because what I see here is if it is such a great demand, we need this entire industry, and there's so many hurting people, why are we not building clinics instead of dispensaries? Really, at the end of the day, this debate, I think, is about recreational marijuana, not medical marijuana.
Thank you.
And I ask
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
the council to be honest about that.
Ordinance is held over.
Mr. President.
Mr. Jones.
Yeah, I'd like to just go ahead and follow up their comments now, and then we'll get to the vote when we get there. But I just want to say thanks to those that have come down and spoken on both sides. There's no debate that medical marijuana's got a place in our approach to a number of issues such as terminal cancer patients, seizures, etc. Most studies that I've read indicate just that. The reality is that this medical marijuana is already here and has been here, just like we've heard. It's prescribed by doctors. It's distributed via pharmacies. The difference is that what we have in place through the doctors and the pharmacies is FDA approved. There's not one pill that will go through a dispensary that is FDA approved. If all of this has been done, all this research has been done through all these universities, then why hasn't it gone through the FDA and been accepted? It hasn't. Are they working it? Yes. Will it be in the future? Yes. Is it today? No. There's 4 current FDA-approved medical marijuana pills. I've heard a lot of argument. I've gotten a lot of feedback. Well, it's synthetic. 3 of them are. 1 of them is not. Epidiolex is not synthetic. Marinol Syndrose and Cisamet are synthetic, but highly effective, as proven in the studies. So why are people against these new dispensaries? Why do you hear all this argument? Why do you hear all this debate? They significantly expand the uses to obtain this to the extent that the use of this product will significantly increase. I'm talking about illegal marijuana. And we can sit and we can have arguments and we can have debates, but there's a bottom line truth in evidence. And that is that illegal marijuana is not going to go away if we make this legal. Matter of fact, it's going to get worse. And I can show you study after study after study. In 2019, I'll give you one example. Colorado seized 2 billion pounds of illegal marijuana. That's what they got. That's what they seized. 2 billion pounds. A recent study showed that 40 million people in the U.S. between the age of 18 and 54 impacted by anxiety. Guess what one of the conditions for you to get a medical card is? Anxiety. Guess what? Everybody sitting up here could get a medical ID card just by being a city council representative. I promise you. If you go to your doctor, he's going to make sure that you have a need, a medical need specific to the problem that you exhibit to give you the medical marijuana. It's going to be factually based. It's not going to be you saying, I have anxiety, I have PTSD. If you have PTSD, you can get medical marijuana through a doctor today, not through the VA because federally it's illegal. Another problem that I have is that there's no plan for enforcing the illegal use of this. We talk about all of the regulations, and you heard it from the previous mayor about how it's going to be regulated. That's great. So tell me how 4 Chinese people died on an illegal pot farm in Oklahoma that only approves medical dispensaries, yet they had an illegal permit, an illegal license to grow the pot. Why do we have a police force? If everybody follows the law, why do we need police? And I've heard all of these enforcements and all these regulations. Guess what, folks? There's a lot of people in this city that see this as an opportunity to make money behind the shadow and the curtain of what is legal. We heard the Cannabis Commission in the Public Service Committee meeting. They don't have answers. Their answer was, we have Aaliyah. We're going to call Aaliyah if somebody makes a report. Well, I called Aaliyah. They haven't had the discussion. At least they didn't know of anybody that's had a discussion with the Cannabis Commission. So if they haven't had that conversation, what's the plan? That's all I'm asking. We're rolling this out in 3 months, 4 months, and there's no plan that I can be briefed. If I am the deputy director of the Cannabis Commission, and I'm 4 months out from rolling out this plan, I guarantee you I could articulate it to anybody that asked a question. It wasn't there. We already have a problem with illegal marijuana. I just got sent today, during this meeting, the statistics came out for the state of Alabama. You know what the #1 cause of DUI is in this state? Marijuana. Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences, toxicology statistics. 2021 top drugs in DUI arrests and crashes. THC, 626 cases, 45% of the reports. And it's illegal. What's going to happen when it becomes legal? Because to sit here and make the statement that nobody's going to take that pill or 2 pills or 3 pills because they want to get a buzz and then get behind their car and drive is not a factual statement. I've heard the statement that once this is approved, it's going to bring down the sales of illegal marijuana in our city. I haven't found a statistical analysis in anywhere in this country that proves that. Almost every study that's been done in cities that have passed medical marijuana use has seen a corresponding spike in recreational use of illegal marijuana. This is, and this we've heard today already, this is a stepping stone. We've heard police officers today, we've heard others come down and talk about a safe city. I cannot sit here as your elected official and tell you I can vote yes on this, and then in the very next breath tell you I'm going to have a safe city. I'm sorry, the two don't correlate. The statistics and the research and the data, and I've spent hundreds of hours researching that. And we've got nations and cities that have spent years collecting this data. And all it shows is that we're going to have continuous problems. Increase in opioids. Opioid deaths increased by 22.7%, statistical data analysis, with states with medical marijuana use. neonatal exposure, we've heard that, youth exposure, brain development, child abuse, psychosis, marijuana-associated violence, depression, suicide, addiction, withdrawal, ER visits, hospital costs. One Colorado hospital reported $20 million losses due to medical marijuana from 2009 to 2014. In 2012, in Colorado, the dropout rate, the suspension rate in Colorado schools was so bad that in 2012, the legislator changed the rules from a zero tolerance policy to allow marijuana in schools. That's how they fixed the problem. So now your 14-year-old daughter can smoke pot at school, and it's okay. That's how they fixed the problem, because they couldn't put it back in the box. Medical organizations against dispensary marijuana: Association for Addiction Professionals, the American Academy of Neurology, American Academy of Ophthalmology, American Academy of Pediatrics, American Heart Association, American Epilepsy Society, American Psychiatric Association, American Medical Association, International Association for the Study of Pain, IASP, American Cancer Society, American College of Medical Toxicology, American College of Obstetricians, Gynecologists, American Dental Association, American Glaucoma Foundation, American Lung Association, American Society of Addiction, Medicine, Australian and New Zealand College of Anesthesiologists, Faculty of Pain Medicine. Every one of them have come out against dispensaries. These are professionals, experts in their field, acknowledged by their peers to be experts. John Walsh, the U.S. Attorney for Colorado, defended the targeted prosecution of medical marijuana dispensaries located near schools by citing figures from the Colorado Department of Education showing dramatic increases in drug-related school suspensions. Alcohol is still their good choice. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation says 47% of drivers are testing positive for marijuana. Guess what, folks? In Mobile, Alabama, if you get pulled over for a DUI, and they can't do the alcohol test, you don't show signs of alcohol, what do? It takes a blood test. You know what you have to do to get a blood test to test for marijuana in your bloodstream? You have to get a court order. What's that going to look like? I've been asking that question. I can't get an answer yet. We've had so many people in the last 2 meetings talk about homelessness. You heard it today. Guess what? We passed this, we're going to have more homeless people coming to Mobile because there's a direct link between marijuana use and homelessness. I've seen it. I lived in Waikiki Beach for a year. I talked to these people. I had one sleep in my car. Amongst other things she chose to do, I found her on an early Saturday morning. Called the police because she busted my car up. When they arrested her, she had 30 warrants for her arrest for drug charges, all marijuana-based. Offered to get her a job. She didn't want a job. She'd rather sit on the beach and smoke marijuana that they got free. But what's this really about? Why during this time of the year, when we should be talking about Thanksgiving and Christmas, we have divided this city with this ordinance? Why? The answer is the root of all the other whys, the dollar. A few weeks ago, and even today, former mayor stood before you and gave you all the reasons. Well, I had a conversation with him about 3 months ago, and what I know is he's part of an investment group that has about $20 million sunk into this.
Mr. Jones.
And there's 3 other entities in this city that have the same amount of money sunk into this. And you know what? I'm an elected official, and I was elected by the people of District 6 to tell the truth and to tell you what the motivations of the people that stand before you are and what their heart is about when they come and plead before you. And I'm sick and tired of the truth being swept under the rug. Cannabis Commission said this is highly regulated, and we've heard the story in Oklahoma. 4 people died there, murdered. And they weren't even supposed to be there to begin with. We have an ordinance that's in front of us today. There's really nothing in this ordinance. It just says we can do this. I asked this morning about the zoning. Oh, it's B2. You know what that means? Every strip mall in my district that's not 0.2 of a mile away from a church can open up a pot shop. And I'm littered with strip malls in my district right outside of neighborhoods. 0.2 of a mile. That's the reality. We have a lot of work to do. And all I've asked for is for us to have more time to get this right. Because you deserve that. The problem is all this big money has got to have it by the end of the year. We heard even today that the major driving factor in everything else is to make sure that these people aren't inconvenienced by their application. Folks, this is too important. This deals with the safety of our neighborhoods. This deals with the safety of my daughters and my granddaughters and my grandson having easily accessible pot shops in my neighborhood, and how that's going to be regulated and secure. Because right now, there's not an answer outside of it's in the regulation. And to me, that's just not acceptable. And there's a predominant thought, and this is you know, I was told everything I'm doing is emotional rhetoric. Folks, this is not rhetoric. This is studied, this is researched, this is facts. Is it emotional? Yes. Why? Because I love this city. And I want us to have a safe city.
No, ma'am.
I want us to have an environment that we can enjoy each other without the risk and without the threat of those that are doing things illegally that put others in harm's way. I ran into a pastor yesterday, and we got on this discussion. He said, well, you need to pass it because everybody else is doing it. You know how many times I've heard that? You heard it today. Everybody else is doing it. Why not Mobile? Because we're better than that, folks. Because we don't have the answers yet. And just because everybody rushes into a cool fad doesn't mean we ought to do it. But I highly wonder, my father-in-law was a pastor his entire life. And I guarantee you there's not one time he would have ever stood from a pulpit and said, it's okay because everybody else is doing it. Is that where we are in this city? Is that where we are in this state? I pray not.
Madam Clerk.
Ordinance is held over. 01062, ordinance to authorize the operation of medical cannabis dispensing sites within the city limits of the city of Mobile.
So moved.
Second. Been properly moved and second in the discussion.
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
Mr. Reynolds.
I have tried to boil this thing down to why now and why, all the implications of a city, our city. Why, what do we control? We don't control the legalization of medical marijuana. That's been enacted at the state level. And there were good points by speakers that somebody from, say, Spanish Fort or whoever, a resident of Alabama, can, consume medical marijuana while in our city. But as I boiled it down to what the implications are to our city and what role do we really play, I have a lot of unanswered questions. One of those, the biggest one, I think, is what's the benefit? We haven't gotten any ruling on the tax benefit of it. I don't think it's been decided whether or not sales tax can be applied to this. And through reading all of the state documents, many of them, the term pharmaceutical is referenced quite a bit throughout these documents. And it's my understanding that City of Mobile, we don't tax pharmaceuticals. So, that's a question we just don't have an answer to. Can we even tax the stuff? Certainly we could get a business license. We would require that these operations have a business license, but we haven't set or modified the schedule of fees or even identified this particular operation, dispensary or the grow facilities or even the transporters. We haven't identified them on our schedule of fees and what's their fee going to be. So that's business that has not yet been concluded. The density aspect of this, who's to say we can't have one on every corner in a B2? Now, certainly the Cannabis Commission has taken the law and reduced it down, and they're only going to allow so many, but that's just now. What about later? We're creating laws forever, not just now, but later. And then I read the Alabama Department of Agriculture and Industries. This gets sort of to the zoning and how our city operates. And they have some requirements in here of these dispensaries or the grow facilities specifically. And it says that the cultivator and integrated facility must submit an operations plan to the department and the AMC, the Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission. Well, it's a little unfair to them to make them submit a plan for their license, and they don't really know what laws we're going to enact in the city if we choose to do so. So maybe they get disqualified from the process because we decide to change our laws. Also, just as folks were speaking, I was reading in here, they have to have certain perimeter barriers deterring unauthorized access. Is that going to be allowed in a lot of areas? They probably have to get planning approval for that, and maybe we zone these areas specifically where they can be so this sort of thing can happen. It reminds me, and the councilman from 2 brought it up, I think, in pre-council this morning, that some similar to the Civic Center site or something like that, and yet we've been talking about the Corps of Engineers building over on the Civic Center site. Their federal requirements for them to be able to build requires them to have a extraordinary setback on one of their corners, yet it conflicts with our zoning here, the Downtown Development District. So we're now going to have to potentially modify our law to accommodate them, and it just seems like the tail's wagging the dog in that situation, and I don't want to find ourselves in that. Just a couple other points. I won't belabor it too much. These cultivators and these integrated facilities, it says that in the Alabama Department of Agriculture and Industries lays out some things dealing with hazardous waste and chemical waste, pesticides and other hazardous substances. Well, we haven't identified where we want that to be in our city. We haven't established the zoning required for these operations. Then we talk about dispensaries separate from these processing. In the dispensaries rules established by the Alabama Cannabis Commission, here's some parking issues. The city is certainly entitled to establish how its parking works. They do it every week at the Planning Commission or every month. This says that the parking lot, the operator of the dispensary must maintain parking area adjacent to its structure, exclusive use of patients and caregivers. And it must provide reasonable privacy, exclusive use of patients. Then it goes to strip malls, how their parking will operate. Well, these things, I don't know that they conflict, but our municipal laws don't outline these things. They're not enumerated in our municipal law, and I'm sure we could defer to the administration and they'll be able to handle it, but the people should be able to interject what they want into the zoning and all these other processes. And by passing this now, at the end of the year, to accommodate a few, we're foregoing that opportunity that we have before us. And I hope that everybody's got the stomach and willingness to take this up after the first of the year to try to get the zoning and all these other things that overlap in order. And I hope we can get something done that's reasonable and suitable. So, I can't get to a yes vote on this thing. I think we need to have a lot more discussion about this. And with that, Mr. President, I move that we hold this thing over till Valentine's Day.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. We've got an amendment in a second.
Clarity, please, Mr. President. There was already a motion on the floor. There was no motion to amend the motion on the floor, so the motion that was ordered or asked for should be out of order.
The motion is to amend the motion.
The motion is to hold it over,
The motion
hold
was
this
to hold
item over
over.
until February 14th.
Another motion cannot supersede the current motion on the floor. Therefore, his motion should be held as out of order.
Okay, that's great. Any other discussion?
Hold on, Mr. President. Point of order. Are you telling me that a motion to hold the item over is not a valid motion? I'd like to hear from the attorney on this, if you can. I mean, we routinely, in our ordinary course of business, call items up, have discussion, and move to lay them over. This is nothing.
Not before there is a motion to approve it.
What's correct? Okay.
Mr. President.
There will be a time for Councilman Reynolds to make a motion to hold over once the current motion has been over.
Mr. President, I make a motion to amend, to hold this item over until February 14th.
Second.
We have.
Amend means to amend the structure of the ordinance. You're not moving to amend the structure of the ordinance. You're moving to amend the process. And in Robert's Rules of Order, you are still out of order, Mr. Reynolds.
I disagree with
Didn't we
Councilman
bring
Fitzgerald,
the,
Mr. President.
hold up, let's hear from our attorney, whatever he says.
There's a motion and a second.
Councilman Fitzgerald is correct. A motion to amend substantively amends the legislation. That's what Councilman Reynolds is. Councilman Reynolds will have the opportunity to do what he wants with that procedure.
But didn't we bring the ordinance up for a vote? And there was a motion and a second, at which point in time there was discussion and an alternate motion to lay it over until February. Is that not what happened?
No, you have to carry the motion that was on the floor.
No, you don't. If there's a motion to vote,
unless there was a request for that motion on the floor by Robert's Rules of Orders to be taken off the floor, then it must be considered before any other motion.
then we are out of order in every other meeting before this one.
No, sir.
Because we do that every meeting.
No, sir.
Yes, we do.
Guys. Ms. Lambert.
Mr. President, I would also reference that we use Robert's Rules of Order in this body as a general guide, and there's nothing specifically in our council rules that prohibit this sort of action, and this is an action that we have grown accustomed to over the years, and we do this routinely. So for those reasons, I would say that this is absolutely within order, and I call for the question on my motion.
Mr. President.
Stay.
A motion to carry over is usually made when the clerk calls the item, and a motion is made to carry it over. That has been our past practice. Our past practice has not been for the clerk to call the item, for the item to be moved and seconded, and then for a motion to be made to carry it over. That has not been our past practice.
Point of order, Mr. President. While the councilman from District 5 does raise a good point there, that it has usually, or sometimes, or whenever we get around to it, is what I got from it, we have conducted our business that way. But it's not always. we have routinely, at least in the year that I've been here and the 3 years preceding, I've seen this city council take action both ways. They have allowed to hold things over after the question was called on the item, as well as hold things over when the clerk calls it out. I've seen it both ways, and I'm just saying, let's take a vote. My motion is to hold it over till February 14th, and it's got a second.
No, hold it over. Hold it over until February.
Okay. So we have an opinion from our attorney. Any other discussion?
Yes,
So,
sir,
so
Mr.
how
President.
do we hold this over then? How do we make a motion to hold this over?
The carrying motion will have to withdraw their motion to take this up now.
Mr. President, I move to table this
now.
item.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor already, Mr. President.
And the person that made the motion will have to take it back. So that has not happened, correct?
That's correct.
That's correct. Any other discussion?
And so are we discussing?
We're about to vote on the ordinance.
We're about to vote on the ordinance.
So there is no, let me get this very clear. There is no way to hold this ordinance over before we vote on it, which we have never done in the year I've been here. We have never dismissed an ordinance before we allowed the vote to hold it over. But we're not going to do that today on this ordinance.
The person that has had to take back their motion, and I believe the person that made the motion have not taken back their motion.
We have never done that in the year I've been sitting on the city council.
I was just wanting to make sure where we were in the process.
Any other discussion? Yes. Tell you what, let's just take 5 minutes break. It's 12:36. We'll come back right at 12:45.
Well, maybe it's just call. If you get there and it's a dead battery after you do your battery, then call AAA. They'll come and jump it off. And see, I can't do anything to help you out right now, other than.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I love you.
Ready? Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Days.
I'd like to withdraw my motion and ask the clerk to call the item again, please.
Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 01062 to authorize the operation of medical cannabis dispensing sites within the city limits of the city of Mobile.
I make a motion to postpone. No. I make a motion to postpone definitely.
We have a motion and a second in the discussion.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. This is in an effort to get this ordinance past the first of the year so that we'll be able to address the things that we're supposed to address as a city. The zoning, the parking, the taxes, all the other little fingers of this that implicate our citizens in this. And I hope that we can take the time we need to get this thing right the first time. And it's my understanding that the applicants for this particular license have the ability to work with the Cannabis Commission, try to get them to modify their date to accept applications, make their appeals to them. And it's also my understanding they'll have the opportunity to amend their applications potentially after the first of the year. So I just think, what's the rush? I think we ought to put this thing off till around Thanksgiving. And I'm sorry, until Valentine's Day in February, so that we can have the proper discussion.
Yeah, Mr. President, I just want to echo those comments and take us back to the comments made by the Cannabis Commission when we had the Public Service Committee meeting, that in fact is true. This is an arbitrary timeline established by the Cannabis Commission. They do have the ability, anybody that wants to submit an application can leave off that one part, and then they have 60 days to work with the Cannabis Commission to put forth a completed application. This is just one part of, I don't know how many page application, but it's not going to stop the process by just not having this vote today. They've got the ability to follow up between now and then after we figure this out, have another committee meeting, see what this looks like, do the right things, put the right things in place, put the right safeguards, talk to the right people that are going to enforce this, and make sure that looks right. That's all we're asking for. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor for Mr. Reynolds' motion?
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
Aye. Okay, failed.
I'd like to move the adoption of 01062.
Second.
We have a motion and a second in discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Opposed.
5-2. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 64067, rezone property located at 3200 and 3202 O'Shell Road from R1 and B3 to B3.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. In the discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk.
83068, ordinance to amend Chapter 1 of the Mobile City Code to add new Article 3, alteration of corporate limits.
Move to
Motion to lay over 1 week.
Second. Been properly moved and second. In the
Mr.
discussion?
President,
Mr. Reynolds.
is that the right procedure? We just brought it up, and now we've moved to hold it over, which was exactly what we did 2 minutes ago, and that was wrong.
No,
it's not.
no.
Ask your attorney, Mr. Jones.
Postponing definitely proper procedure now. Right on the table is when there's pending question.
Yes. Any other discussion? All in favor, lay this over for 1 week?
So,
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk.
Consent resolutions held over 4895. Declare the structure at 9.5 North Cedar Street a public nuisance and order it demolished.
Motion to table.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. In the discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Items table.
Resolutions held over 01-1074. Authorize agreement with Spire Gulf, Inc. for addition or removal of gas lights. 08-1075. Authorize purchase order to Dogwood Productions for website hosting, maintenance, and live streaming services. 08-1076. Approve purchase order to D3 Businesses 9 to 5 seating for furniture for Lafayette Street City Resource Center. 08-1077. Approve purchase order to Adelty Ports and Maritime for passenger boarding bridge for the cruise terminal. 08-1078. Approve purchase order to Intera for a 1-year subscription to operations situational awareness software. 08-1079. Approve item-based bid for printing and mailing of Revenue Department business license forms 21-1080 and 1081. Authorizing contract with Dorsey and Dorsey Engineering and Geotechnical Engineering Testing for 2022 PAYGO resurfacing. 37-1082. Consider approval of a certificate of public convenience and necessity to Bethel Non-Emergency Medical Transportation to operate a non-medical transport service.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. In the discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes.
02-1086. Proposed study of alteration of corporate limits.
Motion to lay over 1 week.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. In the discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item laid over for 1 week.
Ordinance is being introduced, 64069.
Move to waive the rules for immediate consideration of this ordinance so that we can lay it over till January 3rd.
Second.
Excuse me. Mr. President, Ms. Vice President, if you would rescind that request, there should be a motion to lay this over to January 3rd.
No, you have to consider it first,
We have to
then
call
we
it
bring
out.
it up.
You have to call it out.
No, you called it out first.
That's why everybody was looking at me. That's why I said January 3rd. So move to waive the rules in order to consider the ordinance as read.
We have properly moved and second. In discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk.
64069, consider an ordinance to amend Section 64.3.1 Downtown Development District of the current zoning ordinance, Chapter 64 of the Mobile City Code, 1991, and amend Appendix A, Downtown Development District of the Unified Development Code, Chapter 64 of the Mobile City Code, 2022.
Motion to lay over to January 3rd.
Second.
Properly moved and second. In discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Items laid over to January 3rd.
Consent resolutions being introduced for the first time, 37-1087 through 60-1105.
Move for immediate consideration of these resolutions by waiving the rules.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. In discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Rules waived.
37-1087, recommend approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a lounge retail liquor Class 1 license to Club Elegance on North Lafayette Street. 40-1088, declare the structure at 906 Donald Street a public nuisance and order it demolished. 40-1090, declare the structure at 1705 Northview Drive a public nuisance and order it demolished. 58-1091, assess cost for removal of weeds. Weed lien group 1629, 60-1092, 1093, and 60-1105 are approving award of special bonus to the Public Works at Large Employee of the Month, Public Services Employee of the Month, and Parks and Recreation Employee of the Month.
So moved.
Second. Been properly moved and second in discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes.
40-1089, declare the structure at 1812 LeGrand Drive a public nuisance and order it demolished.
Motion to lay over 6 days.
Second.
Properly moved and second in discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item laid over 60 days.
Resolutions being introduced 08-1094 through 60-1102.
For council rules, these will lay over for 1 week.
Call for public hearings 41-1103. Call for public hearing to consider approval of a certificate of public convenience and necessity to Baby B's Transportation to operate a shuttle service scheduled December 20th. 41-1104. Call for public hearing to rezone property located at 3516 and 3526 Halls Mill Road from R1 to I1 scheduled January 10th.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and second in discussion. All in favor? All opposed? Public hearing is called.
Announcements. The City Council meeting of December 20th will be held at the History Museum of Mobile at 111 Royal Street at 10:30. Oh, I'm sorry. And there will be no meeting on December the 27th.
District 6, Councilman Jones. District 2, Councilman Carroll.
Yeah, just one, Mr. President. On this Saturday at the James Seals or Texas Street Recreational Center, the Mobile Parks and Recreation will have their Christmas extravaganza. This has been a tremendous event for the last several years. It's also co-sponsored by a group of kids or guys that grew up in the neighborhood on Cedar Street. So please come out and enjoy it from 10 to 2. 10 to 2 this Saturday at James Seals Community Center.
District 5, Councilman Days.
No announcements.
District 4, Councilman Reynolds.
No announcements.
District 1, Councilman Penn.
Thank you, Mr. President. This on yesterday we had our automobile toolkit meeting. It was a awesome meeting. We had a lot of great information that was shared. I want to thank all the District 1 and the automobile community for coming out and listening on Zoom as well. We will be coming back and doing an in-person meeting in the month of February, but this is an opportunity for us to plan for our community and be the example for the rest of the city of Mobile. So I want to commend the administration for their support and help in making this happen in District 1 and in the automobile community. Also, we have STEM Mobile. It will be held at the Dodge Community Center December the 17th from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Come out, bring the kids from kindergarten to 12th grade. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Penn. District 7, Vice President Gregory.
No announcements.
And I would like to announce that on Monday, December the 19th, we will have a committee as a whole on Ordinance 83-068 and also on Resolution 02-1086, and also to the citizens on District 3, at 1 o'clock p.m. on the 9th floor. Also to the citizens of District 3, we will have our holiday reception tonight at 6 o'clock p.m. at the Maribel Elementary School. We have some performers from the Revelation Missionary Baptist Church School, and also Maribel School is also going to perform on this evening, inviting all citizens of District 3. And also this coming Saturday will be the annual Parades of Threes going down DIP, starting at BC Rain High School and we're in at Pillins Middle School at 2 o'clock p.m. Is there anything else from this council? Can I get a motion to adjourn this
Motion
meeting?
to adjourn.
Properly moved second in discussion. All in favor? All opposed? Meeting is adjourned.